Hey guys, this is Nate and this is the Nader Tater channel. Today I'm going to do a video that a lot of you have asked for, and that is how to get an external antenna hookup on this T-Mobile Home Internet 5G gateway. There are no ports for an antenna hookup on the backside, so you have to take it apart and hook up a little adapter cables to the board. So I'm going to take this apart live here for you, show you step by step how to do that. And the goal is to be able to open up options for different antennae out there. This is a 4x4 MIMO, so it means it has 4 antenna connectors on it, but you can get away with only using 2 or 2x2 MIMO. You cannot, if you have an antenna that only has 1 connector on it, that will not work on this. You need at least 2. And I've verified that. But for these, I bought a couple cheap little, these are little window units that stick on the inside of the house facing out. These are used for like hotspots. Same thing for like this guy here. This is another little cheap one. This was like 20 bucks. And then these were even cheaper. I don't have a lot of faith in these guys, but they're advertised as working for 4G and some of the mid-band 5G signals. These were less than 15 bucks. But really the more common one, if you're watching this video, is probably because you need an increased signal, and something like this, which is a panel type antenna, is made to go outside, and then it has a length of cable here that you can run. So there are a couple different options out there. Waveform has a good selection and customer support. This is actually not from Waveform, but and I'm not like sponsored by them, but they do have a lot of support. They do have a write-up on how to take this apart, and so I've read that as well. But this type is good for if you have to go through buildings or trees or whatnot to get to your tower. The other type is a like a Yagi antenna, where you can get 2 of those, and they are really focused and directional at a tower, and they work well if you have line of sight. But let's say you're 5 miles away, but you have line of sight and you just need to improve that signal quality, you can get that. So I'll do a video comparing these. I've already started. I've compared a lot of them to see how they compare, but for this one I'm just going to go through and how to take this apart and add some of these little adapter cables to it. So the first thing you want to do is obviously have the unit off, have it unplugged. I popped out the little telephone plug that is in that port, and the point of that is this gray outer housing slides off, and so you want to take anything out that sticks out. Now this is probably the trickiest part, is you want to make sure you take the SIM card out first. That's the first thing to do, otherwise you could damage this. So it is a small Phillips head, so it's not like the standard number 2 Phillips. It's a smaller one, so I had to use this small bit, and it's a really tiny screw. So I took that out, and then the other thing with it is the SIM card can fall out pretty easily, and I'm just going to use my flathead. It has a little side here to pop up the tray, but what you'll see is the SIM card can actually fall out of the case. So I turn it to the side, and as you pull it out you can kind of see where it goes, but there's your little SIM card. That's a fragile setup they have there. So that's the only time I need to use the Phillips head. Now I switched over to the T10 Torx. I'm just going to take off these 2 bottom little screws that go in here. Okay, so now this is the other fun part, and this is, you can look at each of these legs, these little pillars. That's basically where there's some clips inside of the plastic case here, and you just need to get in here and then I use my finger to kind of pick up away from the gray. So I'm trying to pry the bottom off towards the sky. And once you get one kind of going, you can work your way around, and you'll get the hang of it. And it's just, you just get one at a time. Like I said, they're each at the pillar. So that's, you can see here, these are the, you know, they're each aligned with those pillars, and that's how you can get it off. So that slides off. Now, this is where that SIM card, if you did not take it out, it dangles down from here unsupported, and the little SIM card slot on the board is down in there. So as you were to take that off, if you were to pry it, you're now bending that SIM card or bending that circuit board. So you gotta take the SIM card out first. Now, looking in here, you can see we have the battery. And some people take the battery out and chunk it because they don't want it and it is worthless. But you can just leave it in there, you don't have to touch it. Now you get back to this Torx, and there's 4 screws here, and they get screwed from the main housing to this outer gray. Okay, so you just zip these out. I have this little extension on. I really don't need it just yet. I need that later, but it makes it kind of awkward for now. So these are all obviously in plastic, so you don't have to make anything super tight. Just make it snug. All right, so once you take those 4 screws out, now this whole case just slides straight up. Now it has the little screw pillars on it that sometimes catch. So I'm actually catching on the power port, and that's where, when I did this earlier, I actually took the battery out specifically because I had to press the power button on just to get it to slide out, and I did that multiple times, and I was tired of booting this thing up and turning it back off, because if you know this thing well, it likes to factory reset or do all kinds of funky things. But so now I took that case off, and now we have this thing with all these antennae, and they're labeled Bluetooth, GPS, Wi-Fi 2, and then you got 5G 1, 2, 3, 4, another Wi-Fi 1, and so those are all of its built-in antennae. And then if you look on the side of it, there is a port that has 5 connectors on it. And those 5 connectors are a purple one for the GPS, and then there's L1, L2, L3, L4 in gray. And so starting at the top of the unit, that's L1, and then it's L2, then it's GPS, then it's L3 and L4. And some of the instructions online will tell you to plug it into L3 or L4. What I will say about the antennae, the testing I've done, it doesn't matter. It doesn't seem to matter if I use 3 and 4 or 1 and 2. But you don't want to mix like 1 and 3 or 1 and 4 or something. You want to use the 2 side by side. I think what a lot of people use 3 and 4 is because it's easier to get to. But one thing I've seen for some reason is everyone just gets this far and then they try to sneak in there. I'll tell you, it is a pain to work with these little tiny U.FL connectors. I've never dealt with them before, but I mean, they are quite small and fragile, as well as the board, and I certainly didn't want to mess up the board. So what I did was actually take it apart more, which makes a lot of sense if you're trying not to mess things up, right? That's a joke, but what you do here is there's only 4 more screws, and then you can actually take this whole case in half. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm taking off, there's one here, one right here that's easy to get to, one over here on this side by the 5G-4 antenna. And now there's a fourth one that's hidden behind this 5G-3. You got to be a little bit careful. Obviously, these little antennae, you don't want to break them, but they just have little two push tabs that you push down, and don't push too hard because obviously they will eventually snap. But so I press a little bit, and then I might kind of pick it up with my fingernail. But so once you get those two disengaged, this antenna just slides to the side, and then you have access to the fourth hole. And now this hole is deep, and so it just so happens that my tool, I have to pull the bit out to actually reach down in there because my extension will not go down into the hole. But that one just comes out, and now you gotta be careful because the Wi-Fi 3 cable still connected. You know, you could take this out, but I found you don't need to. This is as far as I need to do as far as disassembly goes. Let me just make sure I have it all unscrewed here. Oh yeah, that's where the battery comes out. I think this one's got a little bit more thread. There we go. Alright. So now that that's off, you can now get much better access to this this circuit board here with these cables, and so you can pop off the 3 and 4 off these little holders, and gives you a little bit more room to play with. So now you can see you can get to them much easier. So what you can do, and I've already done this multiple times, so I'll just take one off and show you how you can do it. And like I said, these pieces are finicky, so I'm trying not to take them off any more than I have to. But so let me just do the L1 here for you. For the U.F.L connector, it has a single post in the middle, and then it has kind of a round clip that goes over a circle that's on the board. So you want to try to pull it straight up and off if you can, but it kind of wants to like bend or wiggle off. So you just got to be careful with that. So for this one, first I pop the wire up off of its little clamp, and then I take my screwdriver and my finger, and I'm trying to pinch the back of, I'll kind of show you on video here. I put my screwdriver underneath there, and then I put my finger on top of it, and then I try to pick up. That's what I found the best. You could use a smaller screwdriver than this, but so I just get in here from the side, and then I wiggle it and pop it up. So again, I try to be careful with it by keeping it straight. But so just take your time, and then these pop off. For these, you can just tuck them, like the 1 and 2 ones, I've actually just tucked back in to here. I put them in a little void where there's no circuit board. You obviously don't want them touching up against things, but you know, the antenna themselves, is not like they're powered or anything. So if they're just tucked away, they won't hurt anything. So then you can take your new antenna, and don't be like me and plug it right in the first time you did it, because then you'll realize that you don't have an easy way of getting it out of the case. So the trick for that is you want to look at your case, and if you look here, the SD card is right beneath these wires. So you can look here where the SD card came out, and you can fish these in through one of these little vent holes. So what I did is I first fished it through the side post, right? Because you don't want to have to rest the whole unit on top of the wire. and then I would take it and I fish it through one of these grill vents that's right beside the SD card. It doesn't really matter which one. And then that gets you so you can get out of your case with it. And so for all my testing, I just left them dangling like this. You don't want to do that long term, because these connectors are not designed to have any pulling or tugging or twisting stresses on them. And that's why they come with little lock rings and lock nuts, so you can screw them onto something. So some people have actually drilled into the case and put a hole through it. That certainly is an option. T-Mobile won't like that if you try to return the device and it has these holes drilled in it. So my plan was to make a little bracket that would just give something to hold on to. Some people have done 3D printed. I think there is a 3D printed design out there that you can download for free and print if you have a 3D printer. But I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. But so the first thing, the whole point is to fish it through this grill first, so you can get outside of your case. And then, you know, so then these are kind of short. I think these ones are maybe 5-6 inches of cable length. You certainly don't want any shorter than that, because then it gets kind of difficult to work. So now I have to have this bottom close enough, and then I can take this and get it lined up, and you just press it straight down on top of it. And the only other thing, at least these ones I bought, the cable seems to be a little bit smaller than the factory ones. So I actually pressed the little clips that secure the wire. I pressed them in a little bit to make them tighter so that they would hold it, because I didn't want them to pop out. Besides that, once you plug those in, you're good to go. And like I said, you can use just 2 of them if you want to. You do want to leave the other 2 plugged up and working. So you know, it's perfectly fine to have 2 of the stock antenna and then have 2 of your own antenna. So let me just plug this one back in. And I'll show you how that goes. Certainly. So I kind of secured the wire first, and then see if I can make it so you can see this actually. The most difficult part is actually keeping the head straight up and down. So I just press it down with the flat of the screw. It kind of clips in slightly. It's not a very positive retention. But again, I just press down and make sure it's all good there. So let me get these lined back up, and I just do the reverse order here. I'll tell you, for the antenna video where I go through and test out these other antennas, one of the things I did try, and I'll show you the results with in a later video, is actually positioning these internal antennas in kind of funky ways to see if I could not have to buy any antenna at all. To get the antenna back secure, you just clip in the bottom piece, and then it has these 2 clip retainers. So I just press it down, and then I take my finger and I try to pull back on the clip so that I don't have to press on the antenna hard. It can be a little bit cantankerous for sure. Okay, so now we're ready to slip the cover back on. So again, when you send this in there, you can see it has a couple of these you know, plastic bosses where the screws attached, so you won't, if you look at the top of it, it has cutouts for those, so you just have to line those up. So it'll start going in there, and then again you got to watch out for the power switch that gets stuck. If you press it all the way in, it turns on, so I just try to press it ever so slightly so that it doesn't turn on, and then it'll clip in the top, and you know you're set. So now I'll throw in those 4 bottom screws from the black plastic to the gray outer case. Now, one other tidbit is underneath the battery is a micro USB port, and I don't know what it is for, but my assumption is that it's for flashing the board or the memory on it. So that's there if someone is, I'm a mechanical engineer, not computer or software, so not really up my alley of skills, but someone knows how to plug in there and mess with stuff. I think everybody would love some better firmware or some open firmware tools. So now that's in there. Now we take the bottom plate, and again you line it up with the SD card. Is the easiest thing to line this up with, and then you just press it down, hear it all clip in, and then we got the SD card, which again it's easiest is to tip it sideways, just that way the SD card doesn't fall out. I did put it in vertically one time and it fell out right before I went in, and I prefer to avoid that. So now I just have to put the 2 last bolts down here and the 1 Phillips to hold the SIM card in, and this guy is all set. Now what I did, like I said before, is I had the 2 wires dangling out here, and then you can hook up an external antenna. And what you might want to do that for is if you don't get good signal in your house, and or if you want to place the gateway unit someplace that doesn't get good signal, but you have you know, you already know where you can get good signal somewhere else. So what I'll do is I will follow up with a video going through what I found between all these different antennae, as well as messing with the internal antennas. I started playing with those to see if I could make them more directional, since right now they are all around in a circle kind of facing out. So make sure to subscribe, click the bell icon so you get notified when those new videos come out, which typically is every Thursday at 4 p.m. And then you know, feel free to ask any comments in the video comment section below, and I like to hear from you guys and try to answer your questions as you post them. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.